it's going to look like. I think that does play into your thesis, I'm assuming, Paul, for the consumer slowdown in
Well,
2023.
actually, did you see the one that I posted today? Actually, let me pull it up. It was, wait, am I on mute? No, no, okay. It was about consumer spending, but basically how they've tapped into credit. And it's on Bloomberg, if I can find it. Because my whole thing I've been reiterating, and I'm probably a broken record at this point, is that yes, the consumer saving rate went down.
It's basically at zero.
Since,
It's basically at zero right now. Yeah.
It's like, well, it actually went up from October to November. It went up. It went from like 2.4 to 2.5. Marginally, it's like almost completely irrelevant. But and let me share my screen with you. That's right.
And Paul, make sure to describe what you're looking at too for people that are listening in the podcast format.
Oh, right. Yes. So we're looking at a chart posted on Bloomberg, and it's titled "Households Are Feeling Pinched and that More Americans Are Relying on Money Outside of Their Regular Income Sources to Meet Spending Needs in the Past Week." And it's basically a line chart of 3 different data series. One of them being a growth rate for the percent of credit cards or loans being used to spend money. And one is being used, one is that money is from savings or selling of assets. So the savings is, obviously what people got during COVID, since they weren't going anywhere. And then the last line, the third line, is being able to borrow from friends and family. And all of these lines are basically going up and to the right as of April 2021. However, what is recent is that the lines have started to diverge in 2022, in late 2022. And what I mean by diverging is that the line for Americans using credit cards or loans has shot up, and the line for being able to use your money from your savings or selling of assets has gone down. It's actually it's inverted. And pulling a quote from the article for people who are listening and can't see. It says, new data released Thursday in the US Census Bureau's Household Pulse Survey found that more than 35% of households used credit cards or loans in December to cover spending needs in the past week. That's up from about 32% in November and just 21% in April of 2021. And that's when they first started tracking the data. So this kind of fits into that narrative of, which I've been saying for so long. One day Americans are going to wake up and they're going to be like, oh crap, I've actually spent way too much. This is not sustainable. I need to dial it back. And if you look at the savings rates that we all reference from Fred, which I can actually pull up right now, actually, it'd probably be beneficial, is that if you look at savings rate now, this is the one, I always forget exactly which one it is. Yeah, it's this one. So again, describing it to you, if you look at what it is now, it is November was at 2.4%, October was at 2.2%. So that's what I meant by it went up marginally, 2.2 to 2.4. The only time it was less than that was July of 2005, which is the lowest on record.
Wow,
at 2.1%.
Yeah, what a that's a tough comp there, July 2005.
True, but what's interesting is that right now we're looking at a slight uptick. Will this trend maintain? Who knows? But what's interesting is if you look at 2005, when it bottomed at 2.1, the savings rate started climbing and climbing and climbing just until 2008 when everything went to shit. And then savings rate spiked because everybody thought the world was going to collapse and they didn't want to spend any money on anything. So it's like, could we kind of see a reiteration of this if it gets bad enough? Like, are people going to be like, okay, can't spend, dial it back, saving only, eggs are too expensive, you know what I'm saying? So it's a nice data point to reference. I don't know if it's going to be true or not, but it was interesting to me.
Yeah, and just for anyone that I don't know, can't see it or just kind of doesn't know what the average savings rate is, in the United States is covered typically around 5 to 10%. And yeah, there's periods where it goes a little higher, a little lower. But during COVID, it shot up to 30%, especially with the stimulus stuff and everyone, at home, and then it kind of trickled down, and now it's way below the trend. So yeah, it's interesting.
We do have a lot
Yeah.
of comments. Farv says, Paul, you're an Airbnb baron. Yeah, you're the
Yeah.
the masquerading the cleaning cost. It's the worst, but
You got to
Hey,
do it, I guess.
It's called capitalism. Okay.
yeah, it's
I'm
incentives.
I'm Wall Street. Of course, I'm going to find a way to make a buck. Like, come on, let's be real.
Bijan says, or Bijan says, hey guys, cloud episode that you just released with Sean was great. Lots of good information. Yeah, I thought I kind of actually listened back to that this morning. I don't re-listen to every episode, but that one, I think probably because I have such a like kind of peripheral grasp of cloud. It was so nice to get his takes, and he explained it in such like a non-technical way that it was easy to digest. And not to mention, we've been looking at Microsoft all day because we're doing a not so deep dive on them. I can't help but think those if you took Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure independently, they're going to be much bigger businesses in 5 years. I like it. I think I can say that with confidence, and you can just look at the backlogs and see that. At this point, maybe not Google, but for Microsoft and and Amazon, I think that drives the performance of the overall businesses as well.
100%. And not to spoil the Microsoft one, but I was looking at kind of, future growth opportunities. I was like, hey, LinkedIn, it's a lot bigger than I thought, but for the size of Microsoft, it's still quite irrelevant. Yeah, all right. Any new topic? The big thing this week that I didn't have any big, like, comprehensive thing that like Ryan mentioned, but I got one here, and it is Amazon laying off 18,000 employees. There was a letter from Jassy. I don't think there was really anything else besides they were just laying off 18,000 people. Actually, let me confirm where it is. It's going to be in their people experience and technology experience organization, devices and books, and I think physical stores. Although I'm trying to read this in real time. Anyways, any thoughts on those guys? I think they basically doubled it from what people were rumored as in November.
It's all
Initially,
corporate, right?
It's all 10,000 retail. It's retail and
I think
something else.
yeah. Retail might, but yes, it's not warehouse workers, Brian, because those fluctuate all the time. I mean, they're gonna decrease it by probably 100,000, 200,000 people after the holiday season. So
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
but
people
that's a
quoting
given.
that.
That's not like unexpected. It's
Yeah.
that's a part of doing business, right? That's like
Yep.
well, what's interesting is the opposite of that, right? That was when FedEx actually said, "Hey, we're actually not going to be that busy this this holiday season." But to the Amazon point, I think there's more to come. I mean, have you ever read Howard Schultz's book on Starbucks?
I have not, but I probably should. This seems like a good one.
I didn't like it, but there was something
Really?
that
Okay.
yeah, I thought he was just like it was basically an ad campaign for Starbucks. But what was
Like
interesting is that
exactly like Bob Iger's, huh?
Just like, yeah, it sounds like Bob Iger's book.
yeah, oh yeah, Bob Iger him too. He's gonna like stroke his own ego. But the interesting part in Howard Schultz's book is like when Starbucks was under pressure back in the housing crisis, right? They didn't want to lay off people, but they knew they had to. So they did one round of layoffs thinking that was enough. But then later on, they realized that it wasn't enough, and they had to do another round of layoffs. And his takeaway in that chapter was basically like, hey, if you're running or analyzing a company, you got to make sure that when you do layoffs, that you do them sizably hard at once, so that you don't have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, because you get a bad taste in your employees' mouths. Morale goes straight through the ground. This and that. It's like all the consequences that go around with it.